welcome back to my channel. I'm aware it's been a really very long time since I last did a video. It's been a very long time, so apologies for that, just a lot going on. Well, I mean, a lot of just exhausting times, you know. Haven't really had enough time just fit it in with everything at the moment. It takes me ages to get up at the moment, and I've got a very limited amount of time in a day, so I just haven't had time. A couple of weeks ago now, I think it must be about a month ago now, I had my 5th COVID vaccine in the garden, and I also had the flu vaccine. That's very important for my OCD because it meant that this week I allowed my dad to come in to my home because he literally lives just like one door down, to do some essential cleaning for me. He unblocked the sink in the bathroom, which had been clogged with my hair, because my hair is now seriously long and I do need a haircut, but that's not happening for God knows when, because mostly around COVID. But the COVID vaccination gave me a little bit more security, I suppose, to allow my dad in to my place to do that. With the mask, I was in the garden, still stressful, but it needed to be done because he had to put some special stuff down the sink, which because of OCD I can't do, because I get OCD about it, like touching the substance, accidentally touching the substance or breathing it in, and all these OCD thoughts around that. So my dad had to go and put the special substance down the sink, which essentially just burns the hair collected, which can then unblock the sink, because yeah. And he also installed a new DVD player for me as well, because my other one had broken down. My dad got me a new one. So I'll be able to watch some films again, because I haven't watched films for ages. So that's kind of been what's happening. I'm still waiting for therapy. I had another appointment from the mental health team about a week or so ago. I don't know why I had another appointment from the mental health team, because I'd already had a triage appointment back in August, which was quite gruelling. So I don't know why I needed to have yet another information gathering appointment with another person. I really don't understand. I did ask her, but she didn't really give me a very satisfactory response, so I still don't really know why that was necessary. But it was, but the person the person who I met last time, I got on with a lot better than the person who did the triage. She was a lot nicer. I don't know, I just found her a lot easier to talk to. And I did give her feedback about the previous appointment, the triage one, where the person said, oh, maybe one day you could work, which I found very triggering, particularly in today's climate, and obviously I'll never be able to work because of the severity of my disability. And I said to her, you know, you really shouldn't say this to disabled, they really shouldn't say that to disabled people, particularly in the current climate, and particularly because, you know, like, I've come to terms with the fact I'll never be able to work, and it can be quite upsetting, because obviously, like, you know, well, I've just had to come to terms with the fact I'll never be able to work. You know, you have to accept it because of my disability. It's not going to change. And for someone to say that can feel very triggering. She took that feedback very well. She actually thanked me for it. She said that she would feed that back to them. And she was very nice about it. And she said, you know, she actually said it would be a bit like telling a paraplegic and maybe one day they'll be able to run the marathon. You know, it's the same sort of thing. So I found that meeting a lot less triggering. Like, she really understood me. It was a lot better than that first meeting. But I'm still waiting for therapy, and I still don't know why I needed to have yet another information gathering meeting. It wasn't as long as the first one, and it wasn't as gruelling or intensive, and I wasn't asking really invasive questions or anything. It was more just asking me about my immediate needs, like mental health and stuff. Anyway, still waiting for therapy. Now, in today's video, to get on to the nuts and bolts about what I wanted to talk about, really I just came across this article recently that struck a chord with me in a positive way, and I just thought I'd share it with you. The article in question is from rehabilitationpsychology.com, and it's entitled #Say the Word, a disability culture commentary on the erasure of disability, and it's from 2019, this article. Now, If you don't know what I'm talking about, I suppose I should provide some context. I tend to just go headlong into a subject. So you're thinking, well, what is say the word? Hashtag say the word. Basically, this is to do with the erasure of the word disability. Okay? Now, the disability rights movement has a very, very long pedigree. It's vintage. It goes back a long time. It's a collective movement, a sort of civil rights movement, heavily connected to sort of social justice politics, socialism, just kind of fighting injustice, you know, fighting ableism, essentially. The disability rights movement has a very, very long history about fighting injustice, ensuring that disabled people get their needs met. But now, disabilities, many people often see disability as a negative word, but this actually reflects ableism. Because, yeah, it reflects ableism because often this is more about the needs of the non-disabled population as opposed to the disabled population, whereby the non-disabled population tends to see disability as something bad, as something negative. They're uncomfortable with the word, with disability. So they then try and avoid using the word disability, and instead they cover it up with euphemisms. You know, it's like, oh, we mustn't talk about disability, it's like taboo, so we'll use another word to describe it instead, like a euphemism, essentially. But this doesn't actually, so I'm really distracted, there's something that's on my window. I'm trying to focus on the thing, not what's going on outside my window. I'll just cover my eyes, wouldn't it? But this basically doesn't actually change the situation. The stigma remains. So by not talking about disability, by pretending it's not a thing, you're not actually solving any problem. You're not actually solving a problem. So that's where this hashtag say the word comes in. It's all about, you know, stop trying to erase the word disability, say the word, you know, call the spade a spade, stop trying to use euphemisms to cover up reality in the hope that somehow the stigma will go away. It won't. By using euphemisms, all that happens is you end up actually reinforcing stigma, and it never resolves anything. And a particular quote that I came across that really resonated me is the following. It says, "The erasure of disability identity in the context of current political efforts to reduce public services and supports for people with disabilities is threatening to the members of the disability community." So yeah, by erasing disability, it actually facilitates the reductions in supports, you know, welfare support and all of that. You're making it easier for governments to bring in cuts. I mean, governments will probably find an excuse to bring in cuts anyway, regardless, but by erasing disability, you're erasing a group of people. You know, everything that the civil rights movement, you know, disability rights movement is based on. You're erasing that history of struggle for justice. So it's actually a very reactionary thing to do. It's a neoliberal thing to do because neoliberalism sort of denies sort of collectivity and kind of like the emphasis is on individuals. But no gains historically were ever made by individuals, no major gains. All gains have come about through collective struggle. So this is very political, getting rid of the term disability. And yeah, so this brings me on to the topic of disabled euphemisms. Now, one big euphemism that has been used is the term special needs. Also, differently abled, that's another one that you might have come across. Handicapable. These are all euphemisms to avoid saying the word disability. And these euphemisms were meant to counteract the negative associations of disability by accentuating the strengths of the disabled. But in actual fact, what ends up happening is it ends up actually patronising and infantilising the disabled people. And it's more about the needs of the non-disabled population than the disabled population. It's because the non-disabled population feels uncomfortable around disability. So they need to try and redeem it in some way by making it positive, I suppose. So yeah, euphemisms reinforce the implication that disability is a negative state, because you'd only need to try and draw attention to positives if you think that what you're trying to cover up is in somehow negative. But disability isn't negative, it's part of being human. It's always existed. Anybody can become disabled at any time. It's just part of human condition. So you don't need to try and sanitise it in any way. You just need to look it squarely in the face as something that happens to exist without needing to be kind of dressed up in any way. Actually, I'm going to move over to video number 2 because this video is going to run out of me as I've got limited space on each video. So let's move over to video number 2, okay?